Hey my Scrappy friends, this is Hannah with you today, and I am doing this video as part of a Scrappy tag. This is the interview a Scrapbooker tag, and so if you check all of the info in the info box below, you will be able to see all the other ladies in Scrapbookers, or all of the other Scrapbookers, I should say, who are joining along in this tag. So it's going to be really fun. I love these kinds of tags because it gives us a way to share a little bit about ourselves and just where we are in our scrapbooking journey and where we've grown from, and it's just really fun. So, and this one has an added funness, but let's hold on a second while I close the door so you guys don't have to hear all of my loud house noises. Okay, sorry about that. My dog, she loves to see what I'm doing in here. If I'm in here, she likes to be in here. So my name is Hannah Lemieux, and I have been scrapbooking on YouTube since 2014. So I have been around recently, so probably the last 2 years. I haven't been as active in as many of the tags and as many of all the groups and stuff as I used to be, especially this past year has been a really busy year for me. So I just haven't been posting as much, which is definitely one of those weird parts of things. But anyway, so I've been scrapbooking for quite a while now. And I love how just my style has changed, but just how I scrapbook has changed, and the kinds of stories too, as my kids have gotten older. When I first started scrapbooking, my youngest was probably 3 or so, maybe. I'm trying to think. So he was probably 3 or so, and now he's 9, and so definitely things have changed a lot as they've gotten older. And my oldest is 12 now, and so she's definitely in that stage of that she doesn't always want to have her photo taken, and so it's definitely made it interesting, just to kind of have to change things up and change how I scrapbook, because I want to add these stories, but also I want to be, that mom that says, well, you say that you don't want your picture taken. So it just means that I have to document differently. And so I definitely do think, like, especially this past couple of years, I've changed a little bit about how I document, and I do a lot more pocket pages than I used to. So I started doing pocket pages in Hawaii. So I've lived in multiple states. We were a military family, and so we lived in Hawaii before we came here. I live in Washington State now. And so that definitely has been really fun, a fun way to document different types of things and different things that we've done and stuff like that. My family, we love to do and visit things, but we don't do things consistently outside. And well, obviously with this past year, everything has been a lot different. So, but this past couple of years, I've went back to trying to do more project life. When they were little, I did some project life in Hawaii, like I said, and that didn't really stick. It was kind of hard, and I was very prolific at that point. So if you really want to get to know me, I have tons of videos, like especially when I was in Hawaii, I took a lot of pictures there. It was just super fun. And so, and you can really see like the growth and the change in how things looked for me scrapbooking wise. And I was a newbie scrapper when I started my channel, so that makes me a little bit different than maybe some of the other scrapbookers. I had only been scrapbooking maybe 4 or 5 months. I don't know. I started in like the end of February, maybe March or April. I started getting into scrapbooking. So my daughter had cancer when she was younger, and we took a Make-A-Wish trip, and I really wanted to document that. And that's really how I got started into scrapbooking, and I didn't know anything about it, so I wanted to make really cool pages. So what do? I went online and I found a whole bunch of different scrapbooking pages on scrapbook.com in their gallery. And so I copied a lot of stuff, and I'll try to add some photos in here. Like, I don't know if it'll be in this section or be kind of after this, but I'll share some photos of some of my first stuff, because I've taken some pictures recently, because part of one of the things that I would love to do is go back and which I sort of started a series in the summer, and then now I haven't been scrapbooking as much. So going back to those roots of what I did back then, I did a lot of double pages in her album and stuff, and I was new, but I really fell in love with this thing. And I think a lot of it for me was being in a different mindset when you take the pictures, and I was taking pictures a lot differently than probably even how I take them now, of like being in the like small details instead of big details, and being able to find the good things in life, because it was really stressful when she was going through cancer and chemo, and she had chemo for 2.5 years. So 2.5 to 3 years. So it was a long journey. And it wasn't all hard, but some of it was. And so scrapbooking really gave me a way to like step back and be not a part of that, and to just almost find a different identity for myself and figure out who I was separate from all life stuff. And so it was really therapeutic. Even if I wasn't scrapbooking about what was going on, though I did do some pages. I don't try to shy away from the hard stuff, but I do feel like that has to be something you're ready to scrapbook for sure. So all those hard things. So I know one of the things that was part of the tag was to share some stuff that we've done, some of our favorite stuff. So because I've been scrapbooking for a long time, obviously, I'm probably not going to be able to tell you all time what my favorite is. And I wasn't sure if we were supposed to do like stuff that we've done from tags, but I decided to kind of look back in my last year, maybe 2 years ago, almost. I don't know. Like I said, the past 2 years, I haven't been as prolific in scrapbooking. I've just had a ton of stuff. Life is a lot different. And so actually that kind of goes along with one of the questions that I got. So we each were paired with a different scrapbooker, and we had to ask some questions. So Brianna had questions for me. And so I'm super excited to answer her questions. And then, so I'll make sure I have her channel linked below for sure. And I got to ask Scrapbooking Quebec, so that's Dorothy. I had questions for her. So if you check out her channel, you'll be able to see what her style is, and you'll be able to check out her video too. So it was really fun to be able to interact with other scrapbookers in a little bit of a different way, and just kind of, have these questions, but they're all a little bit unique. So one of Brianna's questions was, how often do you create? Now, so if I had answered this 3 years ago, I would have said I probably create every week something. And probably even in the summer. So in the summer, I moved my scrapbooking room and to downstairs. I was in upstairs, a beautiful room. I loved the room. It just was not big enough, and it was super cold because it was a screened-in porch, or it was a closed-in porch that was not heated. So in the wintertime, I had to use space heaters, and actually I have a space heater down here because it is still pretty cold down here too. So I live in a split-level house, and so the temperature is always weird, and I get cold really quick. But anyway, so it's really nice to have a nice big room. Like, I have tons of space in here. And in the summer I was scrapbooking a lot. And so I think I definitely go in cycles, but, I'm not as prolific as I was. So this year I've not scrapbooked hardly any. I've had a lot of stuff, a lot of life changes this year and this past like 6 months. And so I just don't have as much time. I'm going to be working. So I've started a job, which sort of starts. And so doing that, doing the work thing, we still homeschool, or I still homeschool. Our school district, it was still really close, so I chose to just keep on doing that until, for now, for this year. And so it's definitely made my life really busy. And even though my kids are older and can do a lot more on their own, I'm finding that I'm spending more time with them also. And some of it could just be because we're busier, and it's just that season in my life. So like I said, this year I've only created a handful of times. At the beginning of the year, so the beginning of January, I created a little bit, and I do have a Patreon channel, but I don't really have any patrons. Well, I have one. And so I was doing some stuff for there, and then I haven't even been able to do stuff for there this past month. It's just been really crazy. So, it's kind of like one of those things that I've found that if you don't get in your room and you don't get intentional, you're not going to have that motivation to keep doing it. So, I think there's a lot of it's bittersweet, because it's nice because I have other things that I've been focusing on that are equally as important as scrapbooking. And because scrapbooking is not my job, unfortunately, I don't make any money off of it, really. So even though Patreon is a nice little outlet that could be made money, yeah. So my hope is to do more classes, which I was releasing some class content, which is some of the stuff that I picked, or one of the things that I picked for my fave things, which I'll show in a minute. But one of those things is actually for my class. So some of the class. So I've been doing a watercolor and scrapbooking class. So it's really fun, but yeah. So how often? Whenever I can get in here and know that I have time. I am one of those people, I do like to start to finish things. That doesn't happen very often anymore, just because life gets crazy. So sometimes I'll start something and I'll spend a day or an afternoon doing a lot of mixed media stuff, and then I'll come back later. I have been doing a lot more project life. So that's been really a nice way for me to be able to get some stuff done, and feel like I'm still documenting and playing with this stuff, but without feeling bogged down, because project life, you can kind of just do a couple cards or a page. I know me and my Scrappy bestie, who also is not as active in things anymore. So Crafty Meggie is my bestie. And we stay in touch a lot, and we were doing weekly sessions where we would scrap and talk and chat, but sometimes we don't even get to scrapping because it's just because we're talking, because that's how we are. So I would definitely recommend to anyone, if you can find a scrappy friend in the community that you're really close with, and you can get some screen time and get some time where you guys can create together, that really helps motivate you and keep you kind of fired up and stuff. And I think that's the hard part, is just not always having the energy to do stuff. I would love to get in here a lot more often, even if it was only once a week. just to play with some stuff. I think that the stress relief of it is really nice. But I will say that, so now that I haven't been in my scrap room as well, I notice I'm not taking as many photos, and that makes me really sad because I really love the photo element of it. That's one of my favorite parts of scrapbooking, is taking the photos and taking really cool photos. And because I live in Washington State, in like half of the year in the winter time, the photos always look a lot crappier. I say this, and I wasn't always the best picture taker when we were in Hawaii, which kind of makes me sad because I've gotten a lot better at that element. And then now I'm in a place where, but in the summer, I definitely like to make the most out of it and, take a lot more photos and just take a lot of different photos now that my life is in a different season than it was. So yeah. So some of my favorite projects, let's get back to that, and then I'll continue to answer the questions. I want to try to keep this not too long, but I mean, I'm at 16 minutes. And if you're new to my channel, I am a talker. And so I have a really hard time keeping these videos under like 20 minutes. I just do. Sometimes I can. So, one of my faves was this one that I did. Let's see. Can we get it without the big glare? It's not sunny at all today. It's actually really cloudy. I will have pictures of these too. So yeah, this one is one of my faves from this past year. I did this in the summer. I really just love the colors, and there's so much gold on it. It's super fun. So this one I made a couple of years ago, I want to say. So a couple of falls ago. So this was not last year, it was the year before. But it was during one of the like scrap parties, I think. And it was Christy's challenge, and she had a challenge of like taking a dish and making it into a layout. And so like using that as inspiration. I really love those kinds of things where you can take something and like use it as inspiration. It really like gets my gears all going. And so this is what I created, and this is all in water. I think it's a watercolor, or it's some kind of spray that I use like watercolor. And so I created, it's like the blue china that you have. And yeah, so I did that, and then so this one was really fun. This was when I was in Leavenworth, so Washington, which is really pretty. It's Germantown, and just really fun. So one other one, I have a couple of other ones. So this isn't necessarily a layout, but this is a background. And so I picked this one because it was part of my class, something that probably not a lot of people have seen, unless you're like close friends. I know I've shared it with some of my other friends. But anyway, so I kind of had that other one in mind, and then I was remembering during the eclipse I had did some layouts and stuff with like galaxy background-y type things, and so I created this background with watercolors and some shimmers products, some sprays that I made it look like watercolors. And so I created these, and they kind of look like planets or stars, or, well, they don't look like stars. They look like planets or like the moon or something. And so I thought that was really fun, and that's one of my favorites. I really like how it turned out. It's not a layout yet, but it will be at some point. So let's see some of the other ones. There's a couple other ones that I have. So this one was one that I did a couple of years ago as well. And this I actually created like, gosh, either when we first got here in Washington, so 2015, or like in Hawaii. But I want to say I did this while I was here. But I put it on like a paper bag with a cut file and used that as a stencil. And then I sewed these Maggie Holmes in and just a few splatters. I really liked how this one turned out. So And then this was another one that I did that I really enjoyed. So this one has some blue on the sides with some chunky, oh my gosh, some chunky glitter and some cutout flowers and stuff. And they're all really layered all in here. And these were mums that I think I seen when I was out at not last fall, but the fall before, because this was a couple of years ago too. So and then last year for one of the hops, this one was another one of my favorites, and so this was from one of the telephone hops too, and I really love how this one turned out. Oh, it was super fun. So last fall, 2 falls ago, in 2019, so it was not quite 2 years ago, I went to go visit my bestie Megan at her home, and so we spent I spent a ton of time crafting, and she spent a lot of time crafting, and so that was really fun. We went out for a birthday dinner, and so I really loved how this one turned out. I love the little peekaboo paper. This was one canoe tube paper, and just gorgeous, right? And then all the cutout flowers, I really love it. It's kind of feminine, but without being like really crazy. And then I actually really love how my last one for the last hop turned out. So this is it. It's really warpy. I didn't have it on the bottom. So one tip that I have, this was not included in here, but one tip, if you have a layout that seems like it's really warpy, like these mixed media ones, no joke, they get warped. You might not tell by the pictures that we take, but they can get really warped, because just even the gesso will warp them. And so I will just lay other layouts on top of them, and then they don't look so bad. So I find that helps a lot. So that is a lot of layouts that I did. So anyway, so those are some of my faves from the last couple of years. I've definitely done a lot more than that, and not every single layout that I make is like my favorite, but I do find that the longer I've scrapbooked now, the more I enjoy most of them, and I find that it's not as bad as like when I first started and I was like, oh wow, I really don't care for this. So the first question that Brianna asked, but this is the second one that I'm answering, is what is your scrapbooking style, and has it changed over the last couple of years? So my scrapbooking style is very messy and mixed media heavy most of the time, but I love layers, and I love layering like die cuts or like little pieces of things. I love layering papers, so definitely still has a lot of paper elements on there, and I do really like it when I can add a lot of embellishments. But I will say, over the last few years, I definitely think I've gotten a lot less embellishment heavy, so I've pulled back a little bit, held back on how much I've used, where I used to add like everything. But then again, I was using up all the products that I had to. So I definitely have a lot more product now that lasts a lot longer. And some of it could just be the style of things. I find that there's a lot bigger pieces now. And so sometimes, as much as those are nice to layer, you don't use the whole piece. So my style has changed a little bit, but I do feel like I like where I'm at, so it's not deviated a whole lot, just maybe a little bit less embellishments. So I do have some layouts that are a lot less of stuff, and it's definitely really weird when I don't do mixed media, but I don't always want to do mixed media because sometimes you have to wait for everything to dry, and I just want to get a layout done too. So I don't not use mixed media because I don't want to, but I really am mixed media heavy. One of my actually, we'll save it for a different question. So yeah. So it definitely has changed. It's definitely changed since I've started scrapbooking for sure. And since I've been scrapbooking for a while now, it definitely has changed a little. And I think that it definitely has changed as products change too, because that's the other thing. Like, because the scrapbooking industry isn't always the same, you get a lot of different things, and the focus on things shift and everything. So that definitely makes your scrapbooking style change a little bit, because you're trying to adjust maybe for things that you like. I really like adding and tucking in smaller pieces in with bigger stuff too, and with the layers. And sometimes that's kind of hard to find the really small things because everybody wants to make big things, or, just the types of products are a little bit different too. And so you're not always able to just like gravitate towards exactly what you want. Because I do like to buy things that are current and relevant too. And like, that's just one of the things that I enjoy about scrapbooking, is that I can do that. Okay, so what are your favorite go-to tools and favorite products to work with? So media tools I use all the time. Those are probably my go-tos. I have a couple of really nice brushes that I keep just for watercolor versus acrylic. I was just telling my kids, because they stole some of my paintbrushes, and I was like, you can't do that. These are my nice ones. And they're like, we didn't know that you couldn't just use whatever kind of paint. And I was like, yes, this is why you need to ask me first. But anyway, so I definitely have some of those that I use quite a lot. Like a palette knife and stuff. They're really basic, but they're things that I use all the time. So one of the things that I had for a while, and then I kind of forgot about it, and then as I was doing my class, I remembered, and I've been using more, and I realized just how much I love it. So instead of using gesso for my watercolor stuff, I've been using ground absorbent, and this, or absorbent ground, which is it is like a primer for your page, and it works really well for watercolor or water media. And so really like using this. It does warp your page still, but if I'm not using that, I do like a heavy gesso, and I really love smooth cardstock. So sometimes I don't buy it because it's cheaper to get the textured, but my go-to is smooth, because I know that it's going to be a thicker paper. And I really rather have a thicker paper. Even if I'm not doing media on it, I just like the thicker paper, because I know it's going to hold up to all the layers and everything that I'm going to add on it. I don't know. So I like using my sewing machine, but I don't always. I do like using my Silhouette when it works the way I want it to work, but it's not my go-to. I actually haven't used my Silhouette in a while, and the last time I tried to use it, it was kind of funky. So I don't know if it's getting old. I did get it when I was in Hawaii, so it is 6 years old now. Yeah. Any kind of media. So watercolors, sprays, paste. I love all that kind of stuff. I love having a lot of different types of things. So those are kind of like my go-to things. And I mean, so those are like the tools and products that I like to use on a regular basis, or like to have on hand in case I want to use it. I also really love my mini stapler, with the gold. Well, right now I don't have gold in there, but I like the colored mini staples. So I love this mini stapler. This is just super fun to use, and it's a super simple one. Okay, so what kind of Oh, what is your favorite thing to document? You know, that is a good question, and I don't know if I have an answer. When I was writing these out, I was kind of thinking about how I'd answer them, and I don't even know everything. I'm a historian by nature, and I love history, and I love like family history, and I love like personal history, and so I think that's the thing that I like. So even though I don't journal on a lot of my layouts, I will say that's one of my bad suits, is that I don't journal very often right away. But there always is like some kind of story, and it's part of a person's story, even if you're just using photos. So, but I love that. I love that you get to see a person's storyline through photos, and you can add all these cool, wonderful other things to it. And it might just be simple, like documenting tea that my daughter made from a pine tree, or a meal that I had with my friend on my birthday with us being together, or a flower or the zucchini from my garden that was like super huge, you know? So like sometimes it's just like really simple things, just like I say butterfly. I know I have a layout. It's one of my favorite layouts of my daughter. She had found little ladybugs outside on our one evergreen tree. We have a little one, and there was like a ton of them, and she had it on her hand, and so I did a layout with that, and that was really fun. And it was just simple because it's just a hand with, you know, with a ladybug on it. But I love taking those little moments that really like add up. It's just like these little happy moments in people's life. Well, they're not always so happy, but these little moments of someone's life, and then you put them all together, and you see a life evolving and growing and learning and this journey. And so I think that's the part of scrapbooking that I really like to document. And so it can be something simple, like a selfie, because I went out on my own to go shopping, or, you know, a meal with my kids, or, you know, so it can look different. But it's all about this journey and all these life moments that add up together. So I think that's really what my answer is. And then the last question is, what are the top items on your Scrappy wish list? So I haven't bought a lot of stuff recently. In the summer, I bought some stuff. I got some more media stuff, and I know I was a part of Shimmer's design team, and so I was getting stuff like mixed media. So always mixed media is on my list. Like I always want to get some kind of mixed media, and sometimes I like to try different things. I will say I wish I had a little bit more acrylic paint, and a few years ago, I got some Winsor & Newton watercolor, or not watercolors, acrylic paint, and I'd like to get a little bit more of that and like kind of work with that for a little bit and thin it down. But I love watercolory looks, so like I love using sprays like watercolor. So if I can have a gazillion sprays, which I already have quite a bit, you know, those are always like some of the things on my list. And I do like to try newer products. They don't always work out. I definitely think that at some point I need to get some new papers. I want to make sure I get some Maggie Holmes. I'm really sad that 1Canoe is not putting out any more collections, because I really liked their stuff. I know that a few years ago I got some Felicity Jane stuff. Just like I got some papers from a collection, but it wasn't the whole collection. And I really enjoyed using those in with Maggie Holmes and some of the other stuff. So I like mixing those things. So it would be, I think on my list would be to buy some more of that kind of stuff. I really, I've gotten away from just buying all the collection stuff, even though I like to have a whole collection together, because I do scrap by collection in my mind. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I have this Maggie Holmes thing, I have this thing from this company, I have this collection and stuff, but I always mix them and mash them together. So, I think I do know that there's some Tim Holtz colors, distress colors that came out recently, and because they release some like every month, I think is it? I could be wrong. So I'd like to get some more of those distress inks, some of the newer ones. Don't have that many, but been using some in media, and I've really been enjoying that too. So I think that's some of the things that I have on my list. I don't have a lot. I think one of the things was, what were your 2001? Wow, that was like 10 years ago. 2021. I'm going to end with my Scrappy goals and YouTube goals. So this year really is to find a different routine for getting in my room and making sure that I'm being crafty. So if I can put this out for anyone who's watching who maybe isn't a YouTuber or is struggling with that, it's like every season has its own thing, and I think this is the thing that I've had to tell myself. So this is really like my own personal sermon to myself, scrapbooky sermon, right? Is that it is okay to not get in your room all the time. It's like, it is so easy to get sucked up in this community because we all love it and it's so inspirational, but it is okay if you can't get in your room, and don't ever feel bad about that because you're in a different season. And I kind of been preaching this the past couple of years anyway, but I really feel like I keep having to tell myself that because I want to feel bad that I can't get out and produce. But like, if I'm in a crazy state, I can't give you the things that you want to see, the inspiration, and you can't be inspired. And if you're all crazy and stressed out, you're not going to produce the pages that you want or the projects that you want in the way that you want them. So don't ever go with the season. So if your season says, yes, I have tons of time, I can get in my room, and I think that's the great thing about this year, 2020, but thinking into 2021, as we still need to be a little bit careful with what we're doing and how, and we might still have time. And if you still have time, use it to your advantage. But maybe change your perspective about it. It's like, I know sometimes when I'm in a scrappy rut, I like to just take pictures because that gets me in a mindset, and then I'm starting to think about it. And the more you think about how you want to do things before you get in your room, I find that helps so much. But you have to be able to do that, and you don't always have that opportunity. It's like when I'm thinking about, when I'm homeschooling my kids, I don't always have time to think about what do I want to do on this layout? Whereas when they were younger, I didn't have to think all about this kind of stuff as much. It didn't take up as much brain space. And so I was able to be shopping and see something and go, oh, this would be really fun to do this on a layout. It might have had absolutely nothing to do with, it could have just been the way something was stacked on a stand, or a piece that I seen that was like, oh, I really love that look. I'd love to put that on a page. That kind of stuff happened to me all the time, but you have to be intentional about it. So I think my goal is to be intentional about how I see inspiration so that when I'm in my room, I can actually get stuff done the way that I want, and I feel good about the projects. Because I think that's the thing, is when you're not scrapbooking as often, I tend to I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. And so then I spend a lot of time not doing stuff because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But anyway, so I think my goal is really to just be more intentional about getting inspired so that when I am in my room, I can make the most of it. And even if it's just saying once a week, this time I am getting in my room and doing one thing. Sometimes just giving yourself one small little task is super helpful. And I think for me, that's kind of what I need to do, because I really would love to so I love being outside in the summer, but I also love the light, and that helps me scrapbook so well. So I'm looking forward to that, because I think the winter blues kind of got to me, and it gets to me, and then I'm like, I don't want to scrapbook because I'm feeling all winter blues moody and stuff. And so I need that vitamin D to help inspire me. So if I could also give another tip, find your ways that you get inspired and be intentional about that. So those are my goals. They're really simple. I would love to be able to post more, like once a week or something, but I don't even have the capacity to know that I can do that with my life. It's like with working and homeschooling, it's just probably, it's not the highest on my priorities, and I feel really bad. But then again, I also know that there are so many other YouTubers and scrapbookers who are also amazing and have the time to do it. And, so it doesn't make me feel as bad because I know that they have, it gives them more time out in the spotlight. It's like, I've been on YouTube for a while, and so I've been, given inspiration. So I don't mind if I'm soaking up inspiration from other people and let them have, more airtime, because I know there's only so much time that you have to watch your favorite people. And so, yeah, so that's my take on that. And those are my goals. They're, like I said, they're really simple. Thank you guys for watching this. If you've stuck with me for the whole 41 minutes, I give you a props and hat. I hope that you had coffee. But I will see you guys later. I hope you guys have a great scrappy week, and definitely be intentional, and definitely make sure you check out all the other ladies and scrapbookers. I don't know if they're all ladies. All the other scrapbookers who have done videos. I can't wait to see what everybody says, because these are always super fun. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.